Axie Infinity Season 20 has just come to an end, and Meta T81437 has taken the grand prize of 203 AXS, which I've already made a video about. But today we will talk about whether Season 20 was a balanced season and what kind of teams were really popular. But before we get into that, let's check out whether we will get Season 21 on Battles V2. Now, I thought to myself that because we will get a soft launch of Origin at the end of March, we wouldn't get Season 21 anymore, as I didn't think they would have the capacity to focus on balancing Battles V2 and launching Origin as well. But it looks like Nickstape has confirmed that there will be a simultaneous off-season Origin Alpha, Season 21 and Origin Alpha happening as well. So maybe for the next 3 months while we have Origin Alpha, there will be an ongoing off-season as well as Season 21 on Battles V2 as we know it. So now that we know that Season 21 might be happening on V2, I think it's a good idea to jump into the teams that were good in Season 20 so that we can prepare better for Season 20. And I don't think we can do this episode without mentioning the god Reptile himself. I mean, this Axie was so incredibly good and so easy to play that it was spread across all MMR sections, mainly hanging out in the 2.5k to 3k region. I think that was the main region for a god Reptile to be in, and it was played in a variety of teams. The one that I decided to play with was a plant at the front with Goda Beach Sandal, and then the Aqua in the mid lane with a couple of beast and bug parts as well, as the Reptile could take on any Aquas and birds himself, so I didn't really need that many parts of an Aqua or from a plant anymore at the front lane. Some people did play that with a shrimp, some people played that with a mech or a beast on the mid lane just to get through that plant as quick as they can, and all of those were great. But I think the Aqua had the best kind of utility to play with. It could speed up, it could reduce healing, and then the Reptile could take on anything that was left over. In my honest opinion, I think God Reptile is a little bit too strong. I think Tiny Dino deals way too much damage into Aquas and birds. It deals 168 after round 5, and it's very hard to not allow it to get into round 5, and once it does, it is pretty much game over. The Kotaro Bite, when you have a slow Reptile like I do, which is 39 speed, you will pretty much always get value from him. Whether you are attacking a Dusk, a Beast, a Mech, an Aqua or a Bird, you will be fine. The only matchup that it struggles versus is a double plant and a Bird or Aqua or whatever that might be at the back lane. So there's not really that many bad matchups for this Reptile. And when there is a team that doesn't have that many bad matchups, it usually gets nerfed. It has the tendency to get nerfed, as we have seen previously with double Anemone and a Bird, as we have seen with a Terminator. So I think that the double Reflect Reptile might get a slight nerf. Whether that is on the Reflex or whether that is on the Tiny Dino, we are yet to find out, but I think a slight adjustment needs to be made on that Axie so it's not that dominant versus teams such as double Aqua. Because even if you have Spike Wing on your double Aqua, which has become quite popular, that allows you to counter some high shield targets if you are attacking that Reptile and you don't want it to one-shot it, and that is not always the case, because with double Aqua you kind of have to wait for your cards, you want to play in bursts, you want to do your combo, you really allow them to get to that round 5 because there's no other way to play it, and if you do that, you don't really have a way to kill them, because if you go for your full combo, you will just run into the Reflect and you will die in a single round, so that doesn't really make sense. I think it has to be tuned down a little bit. The next team that kind of made a comeback in Season 20 is the Triple Antenna Triple Cute Bunny. Now, this team was very popular in Season 18, and the reason for that is because Cute Bunny was a 120 damage card, but then it got nerfed a little bit to 100 damage, but this team was still quite popular in Season 20, right? In Season 19 it kind of faded away, but it started making a comeback this season, and people that could navigate it very well did quite good with it. So we have seen plenty of these teams in the top 100, but they were spread across different MMR sections, usually around the 2.8k MMR and above, all the way to the top 10 at some point as well. If you manage to steal your energy from your opponent, then you always will be sitting in a good position, and there wasn't that many Nemo players, only the ones in double Aqua compositions. You haven't seen Dusks with Nemo, you haven't seen Mechs with Nemo. It was pretty much only double Aquas that were playing Nemo, so that antenna was getting quite a lot of value because some of these teams needed to skip some rounds as well, because they couldn't generate that much energy and they couldn't really afford to go attack every single round as well. Some teams also decided to play Cottontail, which gave you more antenna value if they didn't use it correctly, but in general, triple antenna and triple cute bunny is a very oppressive team to play against. You have to focus on the steel energy, you have to focus on the cute bunnies, which provide you with double fear, so you need 0 costs on your team. Then you need to count how many antennas did he use and skip on the correct round if he can't play it, and you need to quickly get through the first 2 axes so that the cute bunny can no longer trigger. So there's a lot of things that you have to think about, and if you are a newer player, playing versus a triple antenna triple cute bunny will give you quite a lot of issues, especially in the early and the mid game, but this team has been providing us with a little bit of a comeback, which is good to see. You want to see a season where you have plenty of viable teams. You don't just want to see top 2 teams that perform very well and then everything else is a drop off. So I'm really glad to see that this team was doing quite well. Another team that carried over from the previous season is the God Mech. I believe this team was developed by Spam and Rice. So we got the front lane Plant, which usually has energy generation cards such as Leafbug and a Sirius. Then the mid lane Dusk with Gary, so you just want to stack poisons with that. And then you have the back lane Mech, which usually can one-shot a Reptile or a Dusk. And we have seen plenty of Reptiles. We have seen the God Reflect Reptile, and we have seen the Reptile that is used in a lunge team. So if you can navigate that Mech quite well, you can get a lot of value with those backdoors if you play them correctly. As you see on the screen, that Mech is doing a lot of work and it is countering this team. So that is another team that has carried over from season 19, and it's good to see that teams such as this one don't really expire after 1 season, even though it has been nerfed a little bit in the skill department, so that Furball and Twintail doesn't deal as much damage as it used to, but it's still viable in some sense, and it can still compete at a high level versus teams that are really in the meta, which is the triple launch team or a poison team or a reptile team. So that's good to see, and that's another example of a team that was doing very well. I don't think it was as top tier as it used to be in season 19 because of the changes to the Twintail, but it still was a 0 cost card that was dealing 96 damage to Dusks, Plant and Reptiles, which is quite a lot. And even if you are left in a 1v2 scenario, you can still beat your opponent. The only issue with the backlane Mech that started arising is that you really want to save your cards. You want to attack in round 2, you want to attack in round 3 when you have your full combo to attack. But there was a rise in terms of Gugus, right? Everyone was running a Goda front lane Dusk, Goda front lane Plant, and we have even seen double Goda teams. So it was very hard to maximize the value of skipping the first 2 rounds to get your combo, and that's where the Mech really struggled. Now I'm not going to be able to get through all of the teams. Obviously there were teams that carried over that were still very good, which is the double Aqua, which is the double Plant, the double backdoor such as Shrimp and Mech. Those teams were still very good. I'm not going to show all of these teams because we have seen them plenty of times, but I wanted to give a special shout out to people that were breeding and playing very unique teams, such as the triple Trump or the triple Aqua that we have seen from the high games in this video, where he plays a Timber Mosquito front lane and the Razor Bites back lane as well. That team is insanely unique, creative, and it was successful as well. It wasn't just a team that he came up with that wasn't doing that well. So there was space for people that have creativity to experiment and to actually take games off of the meta teams. So you can in a balanced season create those teams and have success with them, which is a good indication of Axie Infinity moving forward, with them being able to create a season that is not as pay to win, but it provides you with the ability to have some creativity there and try to beat your opponents that way, which is the triple Trump team is a perfect example of that, right? If you chain them correctly, if you play your cards at the correct moment, you can beat teams such as the double Dusks and a Reptile at the backlane, which in theory counters you very hard. hard, but the trump from the bird still does 150 damage if it's chained, which is enough to take down a Dusk or a Reptile. So playing everything correctly, you still have possibilities there to experiment and try to beat a team that in theory counters you, which makes up for just a better season when it comes to viewing tournaments or when it comes to playing them themselves. And this video couldn't be possible if we didn't mention the triple launch team. I feel like the triple launch team has really risen to the top ranks at the end of the season. We have seen plenty of teams that were reaching the top 10 rankings but didn't really stay there for long, such as the double aquas, the aqua and the bird from the Indus team, but the triple launch team really made a mark at the end of the season, where we have seen like triple launch. 8 out of the 10 top players were using triple launch, which makes it seem a little bit too powerful. We will probably see some sort of a nerf to that team because it was dominating too much, and it also just embraced the fact that this game is still pay to win, and it will probably stay like that for the next couple of seasons if there is not that many Axies that are available on the wider market that are that good, right? Because nobody is going to start breeding a counter to the triple launch team, as that is very expensive to do, and people that get their hands on the triple launch early on will simply have the advantage of there not being that many counters, and also people can't simply buy those teams and create competition for them because there's a limited amount of them. As you can see, that backlane with Cottontail and Scarab, there's only like 20 of them available and only like 2 for sale. So it's very hard to get your hands on that team, and people that have that team will do very well in the leaderboard. So just to round up, I think this season was one of the most balanced seasons that we have seen in Axie Infinity, at least since I started playing. There wasn't one team that really popped off if we don't look at triple launch that closely, but it wasn't dominating as hard as other teams in previous seasons, such as the God Mech in season 19 or the Cute Bunny antenna teams or poison teams in season 18. Those were like really dominating, whereas triple launch was good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as powerful and as dominant as those teams were in the earlier season. So I feel like in season 20, Axie Infinity team has done well when it comes to balancing, and hopefully they take that route moving over to next seasons, so that a lot of teams are viable and that we don't have to pay a crap load of money to get those top ranks by purchasing teams that are simply broken. Hopefully in this off season we will see another balancing patch that will equal out the playing field of some cards, and then we will get to test that and hopefully get another balance before the next season launches. Whether that's on Origin or whether that's season 21 on Battles V2, we will still have to wait and find that out. If you have an interesting team that really popped off this season and you think that might be good in Origin, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below. And again, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel for daily play to earn content, and I will see you in the next one.